Hello, this is R Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between H-Cube and Ave Maria. This game was played in team event number 53, round 1 of the under 1800 section. The match score is 1-1 with 2 games left, so let's see what happens. Okay, well, now I took about 5 minutes for that move. I don't understand. I probably had to step away from the board for a minute. Okay. Now the exchange variation is kind of rare. Generally, I don't recommend it as white simply because you free that black light squared bishop. Game's going to generally remain even for a long time. I've seen interesting results with this. Sometimes if white tries to push c4, black can eventually make that exchange and blockade on d5 and eventually win against the isolated queen pawn. Anyway, it's not a bad choice. It's just a different kind of chess than the normal lines of the French defense. If white wishes to avoid those lines, nothing wrong with it. There are other ways to avoid a French other than this, but we won't get into that. Okay, what concerns me about this game is the time the players took on it. In a minute, H-Cube is going to have his 45 minutes back. Now, he took some time here and there, and black took some time here and there, but basically they didn't take their time at all. They're both going to end the game with more than 45 minutes. I don't understand this, and I'm going to criticize it simply because you're playing for not just for yourself, for your own enjoyment, but you have 3 teammates that are counting on you to play well and score some points. Now, anytime anyone gives you this kind of time odds, you need to slow down and think, and chances are your opponent's going to keep playing fast, and you are going to get some kind of advantage out of it. And I'll show at least one point in here where one of them, had they taken their time, could have achieved a clear advantage. Okay, so remember, you're playing 45 minutes plus 45-second increment. If you want to play blitz chess, there's blitz 24/7 on ICC. You can just get in the 5-minute pool and play all you want. You know, this is standard play. You wouldn't play this in a tournament that you spent $150 on an entry fee, would you? No, but you train for those tournaments with games like this, which you pay for with your ICC membership. And I just really hate to see these things happen where one side or both sides just play really fast. And I'm making videos of these things and people are watching, and you guys need to spread the word. If your teammate is moving fast, you need to report to him and your team captain and get him to slow down. You know, it's for a team. It's not just for you. If you want to play fast and lose your game because of time, fine. But think of your team. And that's what the whole spirit of this is. It's a team event. You don't always play for wins. You sometimes play for draws. You play for draws when it helps your team. Okay? So, I'm just calling it as I see it. Okay, we've got a pretty much almost dead even symmetrical position. Not quite. There's some minor differences, but most of it's just pretty balanced. And here we go. Now it gets kind of interesting. There's some interesting choices made here, which I'll like to talk about. White's willing to part with the bishop pair, but on his terms. If black takes on e5 with his knight, white will retake with his knight, and he'll be attacking a bishop, and also on the pawn on b7. So, kind of interesting move. Good idea, white. And black just kicks it back, doesn't bite. Okay. Now white's willing to give up the bishop. But now what I find intriguing about white's next move, I think 9 out of 10 players, or maybe 95 out of 100 players, or maybe all 100 players would retake with the h-pawn, and that's probably the best move. But white takes back with the f-pawn. Now this is always kind of interesting to me when somebody does this, because you're making a choice like this with the idea of attacking on the f-file. And although white's not really primed to do that, I find it an interesting choice. So, but I don't think it's the right choice. I think you're better off in a position like this just to take back with the h-pawn, because when it comes down to an ending, you have that knight pawn, and you might not want to have a rook pawn. But anyway, Uh, just as a general rule, it's better to take with the H-pawn, but apparently in this position there's nothing wrong with it. And now some of the symmetry still remains here. Black's willing to trade queens if white will take it, and then black has a choice. Once again, two interesting choices. Does he take with the pawn and double his pawns? Well, that gives him a half-open file. Or does he take with the knight? Probably he's going to take back with the pawn. Now, what white could do is white could just sit here and offer black that choice, and that might not be a bad move. Now, how would we do that? Well, here's one drawback with the fact that white took with the f-pawn, because if you want to plant a rook on e1, which rook do you put? Now, if you took with the h-pawn, it would be a no-brainer. You put the f-rook there. Now, maybe you don't want to do that now because you've got the f-file open. So then you say, okay, rook on the a-file will go to e1. Okay? Well, now you've taken the rook off the a-file in case black exchanges queens and you want to take back with the pawn. So, just for the sake of argument, let's just look at rook e1 for a moment. What does it do? It attacks the bishop, and it actually seizes an open file. So, of course, black has resources. He's not going to drop his piece, but he can move it. He can put it on d6. He can probably what black would do is just perfectly logical, is just keep the rooks symmetrical and put rook e8, okay, rather than move it to d6 or anything. But anyway, it's kind of intriguing. The game stays pretty level most of the way, and there's really not much, as you will see, but there's a little bit here and there. And once again, we have quick chess playing. Okay, watch white's and black's times here. Black has 49 minutes and 37 seconds. Well, here he took about 2 minutes on the move and played a mistake. Now, white plays a mistake. Okay, let's see how much time white took. Okay, he took basically his increment. White missed a tactic. If he has all this time in his clock and he misses it, what might look like a simple tactic, but let's take a look. Do you see it? Pause the video if you want to try to find it. Now, you may not find it all. It's kind of tricky. Okay. You've restarted the video. What white should play is bishop takes g6. Now, most of this is obvious. Anyone can see that if pawn takes, queen takes check, king moves, and take the bishop on g4. And you've won 2 pawns. And you're attacking the knight on d7. Well, white should have seen that. Now, maybe what white saw was f5. Okay, and can't get the bishop out, right? Well, white actually has a resource here. Needed to look 1/2 move further, and there it is, h3. What does black do? If black can't retreat the bishop, if black takes this bishop, white takes a bishop. Okay, right? So, the white player might say, well, he just takes his knight, gains time. Now, if I take back the piece on f3, I lose my bishop, and I'm down a piece. Well, white has resources here. Bishop takes f5. And black's in trouble here. What's he going to do? If he retreats the bishop, white takes the knight. White's up 2 pawns. What's he going to do? Think about it. Bishop takes g2. Man, this gets crazy. White has all kinds of things to do here. We can, let's see, we can stop and give a check on e6. We can take on h7 with check. We can take on d7 and give these. It gets kind of complicated, but white has just so much here. White's winning this. I'm sorry, no matter how you slice it, and I'm going to let white and black figure this out on their own. I'm not going to show it to you because you missed it the first time. Black allowed it. White didn't do it. Figure it out. Okay. So white has all kinds of things, and I've shown you the basics of it. So just need to analyze more, and you've got the time on your clock to find it. That's what's neat about chess. You have plenty of time, and it's there for a reason. You accumulate some time, and you use it when you really need it. When you need to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes on a move, it's there. And those 5, 10, 15 minutes, just looking a little deeper, can change so many of your results. And as I say in my lesson program, if you eliminate your errors, your rating goes up. When your rating goes up, you play stronger players. Now you learn more from them because they're better than you, and you're learning from them, and you're getting better. And your rating continues to go up. But if you keep playing fast and stay at a certain level and keep making errors, you're going to keep playing lower-rated players, and you're not going to go up, and you're not going to get better. As far as I'm concerned, I think just about everybody would love to play better. Who wouldn't? Come on, be honest. I mean, if you could play better or not, you had to choose one or the other, which would you pick? You'd pick playing better, okay? All right, end of story. Let's move on. Okay, like I said, there's really not much to this. It pretty much stays level the rest of the way. So both sides are to be commended for not making mistakes after this. At least none that I could see right off the top of my head. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of run through this in the remaining 4 minutes. It's just kind of like a little Mexican standoff where neither side can get anything. The net result of white opening up the F-file hasn't really led to much. Black's got his king side defended, so the white battery of the queen and bishop isn't doing anything. And then again, black's doing the same thing with his queen and bishop, and it's not doing anything. So now we just start looking for exchanges, and white does a logical move. He says, well, I want to stay on that file, and black says, well, I want on that file. And finally they make a little trade here and there, and white's willing to go into a minor piece ending. Now, one drawback with this strategy of just trading off all kinds of pieces is you're just aiming straight for an ending, and any winning chances that you might muster are going to be gone, because when you have queens and rooks and all these things on the board, you can give all kinds of checkmates and do all kinds of tricks, but if you just seek to trade them off, you're just headed for a draw, and unless you're lucky and your opponent blunders the ending. Now, if you're really skilled on an ending, or actually see something in the position that gives you a nice ending, yeah, trade off. But here, you have opposite colored bishops, although the knights on the board change some of that. But there's theoretical winning chances that one side could do. Now, white, to try to win this, has got to be careful. Both sides can attack the isolated d-pawn with both minor pieces, but doing so might leave the counterpart weak. So king position would be critical if you were gonna try to win the opponent's isolated queen pawn. So there's really not too many winning chances here. It is pretty drawish, and as a matter of fact, that's kind of how it's going to turn out. Neither side really got anywhere. Now white makes a temporary pawn sacrifice. Now black's up a pawn, but he can't really hold it. Or it's not really all that useful. It's a double pawn. I guess if I was to spend a long time, I could probably sit here and criticize that and say that black can demonstrate some attempts to win with the following method, here, but I'll just let it go. I'm just disappointed. Look at the times on the clock. It's always been so much time. But maybe with the quick liquidation of pieces, it's just natural that they move fast. But still, it's kind of a disappointment that they didn't take their time in this game. And now that's good. Put it on the opposite color of a bishop. Now black just says, well, you know what? I'm happy with the draw. It's one of those positions where white has the bishop, but really can't win with it. There's just too few pawns, and there's just not going to be any winning chances. So black has a little better king position, and they both set up their position where neither side can break through. And the game is going to be agreed drawn here very shortly. Okay, so they just go back and forth and finally say, yeah, it's a draw. And really, black might have some winning chances, but his knight's so slow moving. With his better king position, the idea is to get the king over to b4, but how are you going to get there? And you have to watch out that h4 doesn't fall. And then suddenly white has this little critter ready to run and promote. But It's an interesting game. It's not bad. You can't really say there were a lot of mistakes here with the quick trading of pieces. It just stayed equal. That helps the game stay equal. If you're always making trades in an even position, you're generally not going to lose the game unless you make a blunder later. Well, thanks for looking. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next game. Take care.